Okay, it's still me. So if you were at the October General Meeting, you will have seen a panel of your colleagues. And so this year, what we're doing at our 3 general meetings is having 3 different panels with our wonderful members. And today we've invited faculty who teach into what I have been told is called service departments. Some of them make faces when that phrase is used. I'll let them talk about that if they choose. But really wanted to hear from folks in our membership that teach into multiple programs. And so we've got 4 folks who are going to be sharing their experiences and knowledge with you. We also have a member who is going to moderate. So I'm going to introduce the moderator, and then the moderator will introduce the panelists. And then if you have questions for the panelists, you can ask those towards the end. So our moderator today is Peter Fenrich from the Learning and Teaching Center. Peter is an instructional development consultant at BCIT and designs online and face-to-face instructional materials and supports instructor development, curriculum development, new program proposals, and program reviews. He also designs and creates innovative computer-based training and simulation software, and his work has won international awards. His book, it's a long title, hold on. His book, entitled Practical Principles of Instructional Design, Media Selection, and Interface Design with a Focus on Computer-Based Training and Educational Software, provides practical information gained through years of experience. He also works internationally as a consultant and has earned a PhD in education. So welcome to Peter.
Okay, it's working. Could the panelists come up? It'd be really kind of strange to introduce you if nobody can see you. We're going to just have So it's my pleasure to introduce our 4 panelists. It's alphabetical order as opposed to anything else. So first is Cath-Anne Ambrose. Cath-Anne Ambrose is in the communications department, holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario, and a master's degree in communications from Royal Roads University in Victoria, BC. She teaches communication courses into a diverse range of techs, including broadcasting, biotechnology, CST, CIT, and mining. Cath-Anne has extensive industry experience, having worked for many years in the film and television sector and running her own public relations firm. She is currently serving as a tech rep for the communications department. Michael Bourke is in liberal studies. Michael has a PhD in philosophy at the University of Sussex, just ahead of the millennium. He has been a member of the liberal studies department since 2005, teaching into degree program courses in the history of ideas and applied ethics. Michael sits on the research ethics board as a member, brackets, somewhat knowledgeable, in ethics. His most recent conference paper is entitled Nihilism, Truth, and Value at the University of Berkeley. That's intriguing. One more, Scott Hagan in mathematics. Scott is currently teaching math and liberal studies courses in several of the engineering degree programs, civil, mechanical, and mining. He has been an instructor at BCIT for 18 years. During that time, he has also taught in computer science and health sciences programs. He is a past recipient of the Teaching Excellence Award for the School of Computing and Academic Studies and has a PhD in theoretical physics from McGill University. Okay, and at last we have Jennifer Wolfe in chemistry. Jennifer Wolfe has been an instructor in the chemistry department at BCIT for 4 years, since the fall of 2014. Before that, she worked at KPU, SFU, and Capilano University in various part-time contract positions. During this time, she was also helping bring up her two kids, now 21 and 18. The younger one is currently in a trades program at BCIT. At BCIT, she teaches mostly general chemistry courses and some upper-level courses into programs in School of Health Sciences, including food technology, occupational health and safety, and environmental health. She also co-teaches in some lab courses for students in the mining technology program. Sorry, that was flipping the page as it continues. But 2 rounds of applause is always good. She is currently involved in a research project on effective use of video technology to augment laboratory instruction. She really enjoys teaching at BCIT with its varied programs and student body. There never seems to be a dull moment here. In her spare time, she loves the outdoors of BC, including hiking, running, cycling, and cross-country skiing. She also loves good wine and food, who doesn't, especially if someone else is cooking. Well, I'm really intrigued on this. We've all heard that we should be making our curriculums interdisciplinary, and I'm hoping we'll get some insights. And fortunately, this whole group does actually help us do that, and maybe we can do more of it, and probably should. So I'm looking forward to hearing responses to a lot of these questions. So the first question is for everybody. What motivates you in your work?
I think that's kind of an easy one, really, because I think it would be the same answer from all of us. It's our students. It's when you see that look on their faces that tells you that they got something.
Yeah, Test. Yes, absolutely, the students. I also love coming to work with my colleagues in the comm department. They're all really brilliant, fun, smart people, creative, and we have a nice, cohesive department.
I'll take a cue from our Indigenous guest, and as you heard, my background is in philosophy, so I'll give you a slightly fishy answer, just to be contrarian. And Scott and I are good friends, and I'm actually thrilled that he's part of our department as well. I realize you're officially in the math department, but Scott's a brilliant philosopher as well as a theoretical physicist, and we're very happy to have him. Anyway, I sometimes, I use a stronger word than motivation. I'm actually inspired for very important methodological reasons when my students in seminar discussion, and that's how I run all of my philosophy courses, are prepared to make errors to which errors regularly in class and provide the conditions for a collision of ideas. The methodological reason for this is that at a place like BCIT, there are many technologies, engineering, for example, where you want to be able to get the answer right, and it's very important. You don't want to make yourself prone to making errors. It's probably something quite the opposite in the humanities. I'll try to be less long-winded, but because it's important that people understand that there are certain kinds of questions where a black and white or heavily quantified answer is simply unavailable, and yet it doesn't fall off into the other extreme where anything goes in subjectivism or a kind of relativism, which is the easy response is all that's available. I think it's important to start thinking your way seriously, rigorously into kinds of perspectives where you know that your justification is going to be radically incomplete, and to be able to cope with that and have the tools, interpretive, analytic tools for doing so. I'll be shorter on my next.
It's tough to follow that one, but I'll just be shorter and say that in addition to what Cath-Anne and Scott said, motivated by our students' excitement and wanting to learn, I'm also always interested in learning new things about chemistry. People think of as such a dry topic, but it does integrate to so many parts of our lives, and teaching at a place like BCIT is great because we can actually see that in action and really inspire students to put that in with the rest of their learning. So.
Thank you. It's intriguing that there's common core, sort of ideas, but there's differences, and I think that's important too. The next question, anybody can answer, all or one. What surprises you most about teaching into a variety of programs?
I think what surprised me the most when I first started teaching here, and I'm quite new, I've been here 4 years as well, was the different organizational culture in each school, in each department, the different teaching philosophies, the different energies and all of the different sets we teach, and how that can change based on the dynamics of the group. And I think as instructors teaching into across the disciplines, we need to be flexible. And I think we're in a unique position to model that flexibility to our students, because they're going out into a workplace where they could be working from contract to contract, working in many different cultures, and they have to see how important that flexibility is to be able to fit into different worlds and innovate very quickly.
I would just totally reiterate that. It's a matter of adapting to the different cultures that you see in different program areas. It's really quite amazing how different programs can be in terms of the way they function organizationally, and also just in terms of what you called energy and how they take care of their students. So it's finding one's place in all of that and becoming part of that well-oiled machine.
I just wanted to add to that a more general thing, which is actually not about teaching into the different programs, but in general teaching at BCIT, I was surprised at the intensity of the students' schedules here and how we also have to respect that when we're designing our teaching, because it is quite different than what you might see at other places where they really are scheduled like almost 8 hours a day every day in courses. And so if in our little insular class we think, well, didn't you think about this before, since the last class, and you realize they've had like 10 hours of other classes since then and they haven't had a chance to. So trying to integrate what we're teaching in with the rest of their week is a challenge, and that I did find a little quite surprising.
Yeah, thank you. And I think actually you guys have one of the hardest jobs in the Institute for those very reasons. I'm not just being polite. Next question. Again, anybody or all of you or just one? What, if anything, has changed about the way you teach into other programs over the years? And if you'd like to, you could think about or also add what should change in the coming years.
What has changed for me is that I feel like I've become part of a team in each of the programs that I work into, so that the programs involve me and other service departments in their plans, so they inform us and consult with us about where the program should go, what the program needs, what the students need. And I think that I can serve the students much better now that I am part of that team and can contribute to the planning going forward.
Yeah, just to build on that, I think when I first started, I think everybody at BCIT, when you first start here, you're lucky if you get given any materials from the person who had previously taught that course. So I think as time has gone on, I've realized how important it is to create materials that are really authentic for the students and are so to have case studies and examples and things where they can practice their communication skills and writing skills in real world examples that are germane to their discipline. And as generalists in communication, we need to rely on the subject matter experts. And that could mean, you know, can you look at this assignment that I'm about to give them, or an exam, this case study, to make sure that it reads as authentic. So I have no problem now walking into a program head or a co-instructor and saying, hey, can you just take a look at this and tell me what you think? Because, you know, I'm working from, as I said, broadcasting to biotechnology to mining. You know, a recent example is I'm working on making them write a comparison report about some haul trucks on a mine site and which one they would pick. So, you know, I need some information and some background from the experts in the field to create my material. And the students really appreciate it because they get sort of a double learning and they can see why it's important, why the assignment's important.
Maybe I'll just add that I'm happy that quite a few departments are, let's say, confident enough in our resources that they're prepared to ask us to design new courses. A few years ago, we only had one ethics course, and I taught it for close to 10 years. Now I feel eclipsed by new colleagues in the department who teach health ethics, bioethics, sustainable business ethics, and hopefully ecological ethics. I can't teach all of those courses very happily, but I'm happy that programs are starting to stress this a little bit, and would encourage program heads who have any doubts about how far we can, you know, be stretched to go ahead and ask.
I was just going to add that I have to say that I haven't had as much communication with other instructors in the programs that I'm teaching in, and I would like to see more of that so that I can better integrate what I'm teaching with what they're teaching. Except for, I should say there's one exception, which is I teach in the tech entry program in the labs. And in that program, we do actually have better communication, I find, with the other instructors. So, and that was, I was remiss in saying that I teach into that program in my bio, so I'm sorry about that. So in that program we have, and we've worked with the communications instructor there to help with the students' writing of their reports and things. So that, in that case, we are actually doing some more collaborative work. But I find in some of the other programs I teach in, I feel like I'm a little bit on an island and not integrating as much with the rest of their programs. So I'd like to see that improve.
Thank you very much. And again, it makes me think you have a tough job. Okay, as a member of the service department, how do you support interdisciplinary studies while you work across the various schools?
I've actually been really happy in recent years to meet with several of the instructors in different programs that I teach into during the summer. So they're taking their time during the summer to meet with me and plan how to integrate the material that I teach the students so that it's meeting the needs of what their course will require in the following year or the following term. So the result is that I feel like my students feel that their math course is integral to the program, and when I talk to students who have graduated on to later years in the program, they'll come back to me and say, oh, we're revisiting lots of the material that you taught us. It's so important in this class or that class. And that's very heartening. So I guess the fact that we can integrate the material and the applications between different courses is that interdisciplinary element. I think at a lot of post-secondaries, the vision of math is as a dry theoretical topic where you just teach the mechanics of working out problems and don't touch the applications. And that's not an approach that flies with our students. So I'm happy to introduce that math to them in a context where it makes it relevant to what they're doing. So they see some importance in it and they see what the relevance will be going forward.
Well, working in communication skills are foundational across all the disciplines. And we hear that more and more from employers who come to speak to our classes in employer surveys, that interpersonal and communication skills are the top skills they look for when they're searching for candidates. So, as Scott was saying, I think the more involvement we can have with the bigger picture in the department and how we can support our students going forward into other courses. I think we do this with embedding communication instructors into our senior capstone projects. I think that's a really good example. And cross-disciplinary projects that have come out of these sorts of things. For example, Presentation Idol is something that my colleagues created that came out of a need for engineering students to have more practice in presentation skills, and it evolved, and it's into a really cool project. So, yeah.
I'll just say that as program head of liberal studies, our mandate is a little bit trickier because we have to provide breadth requirements. We can't simply collapse the disciplines that we provide into different programs into the technical areas. But interdisciplinary approach, an interdisciplinary approach is quite important. Scott, for example, is involved in a series of courses which involve team teaching, in which we recruit instructors from basic health sciences, the Department of Computing, math department, a physicist from the math department, and various people from liberal studies. And I think we're able to provide interdisciplinary courses with the following caution that, or the following constraint, namely that we won't offer any courses in which there aren't, in which the instructors don't have a serious disciplinary background, a lifelong commitment to the discipline that they're representing. So there's nothing kind of academically abnormal, and I think we could hold up our courses in terms of innovativeness and academic respectability with even such illustrious places as Caltech and MIT. Not to say that we're sort of anywhere in the same league as those guys, but.
Nope. Okay, thank you very much. From your perspective, what do you think the Institute needs to do, I think we're missing a word, to support student success more fully?
One thing from a practical standpoint I'd like to see is more integration, what I said before about integration of the curriculum, but also things like midterm schedules and exam schedules. I'd really like to see a little bit of coordination among, as much as you try to kind of spread out your midterms, then you find out that the students have 2 one day and 1 the next day, and then of course yours is going to suffer. And also our exam schedule is terrible, I think. So pedagogically, it's one of the worst parts of what I do teaching here. So I'd like to see those change. Because I think we do a lot at BCIT to support student learning otherwise, but when it comes down to actually exams, that's been shown to be one of the worst things as far as student outcome and student success is having exams stacked up so close together. So.
I just wanted to say, as an observer from the outside, I think that a real success story in terms of supporting our students is in things like embedding communications into the capstone projects and things like Presentation Idle. I have watched those evolve over the years, and they've become really instrumental to the students involved and made a real difference. So just a shout out to that.
Hello. Another thing that I've noticed is a big difference is the different technology that exists in the classroom. So I just taught a class at the downtown camp. I've been teaching a class in CIT at the downtown campus. And what a difference it makes when you have these screens at the table and students can work on writing collaboratively. They're sharing Google Docs. They're going up on the screen. They've got split screens. It's amazing from a communication perspective how that excites and inspires them and really makes the class interesting. So.
Maybe I'll say this on behalf of all of us, I hope, that I think the human factor is even more important than technology. And so the kind of collegiality that sort of shown here, where we support each other, and the kind of collegiality that we've been fortunate enough to rely on in the departments into which we teach is really encouraging, and it really, really, really makes a difference when students come in and they have a sense that the service courses they're taking aren't a waste of time, and that makes our life and I think their academic flourishing more readily available.
Thank you very much. I just got the cue that I'm supposed to end this part of it, but we now have 10 minutes or so for questions and answers, so please ask questions.
Yeah, Sylvia Rushka from Applied Research. I'm wondering if you guys could comment on what barriers you see at BCIT, or what would need to change to actually get interdisciplinary work happening across programs. So you've described to us how you work interdisciplinarily into different programs, but sort of the direction that I see for a lot of what the workplace in the future is going to look like is actual interdisciplinary work in the workplace. And I'd love to see that happening in the classrooms here already at BCIT, so that our students have experienced that here and are ready for that type of work in the workplace.
I think that the problem for applied research at BCIT right now is similar to a problem that all of the service areas face, and that's geographic. And I'm not sure how to address that. There have to be forums where people from different areas can get together. When we're teaching into a program, we know where to go, where we have to present ourselves in order to get integrated into that, into the program. I think that's a little bit harder for applied research because it's so scattered across the campus, but somehow it has to be brought together just geographically. People have to meet one another.
I think what Scott was saying is you kind of have to know BCIT is such a large place, and you're constantly learning. Every week, or I find out something else. Like at the last tech rep meeting, we had the Makers Plus people talking about wearable tech and showing us what they do, and it's just fascinating. And so to have the ideas for the connections or the projects, and then know where to go and how to create that and bring it into the classroom.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of the different programs educationally collaborating with each other. So not how to involve applied research, but how to get engineering students working with health sciences students, because engineering knowledge and knowing how to work with engineers is going to be critical to delivering health science in the future. So I'm actually thinking student to student, across schools, across departments within schools. I think applied research can help build those bridges, but how do we actually break those barriers educationally at BCIT?
So I thought I'd just add a quick example. An engineer should work with an architect who should work with the carpenter putting in the nails. So there's things they need to know about each other. So that kind of idea.
I think given our students' workload, like that certainly has to be a factor. So the only place that I see room for that kind of experience is in project-based work. So that the people coordinating projects in different programs need to coordinate with each other to find projects that will bring those people together and require expertise in different areas so that everybody feels like they're contributing equally to that process.
I was at a meeting yesterday to which program heads and associate deans were invited, in which there is an initiative in the early stages to have a common time in which courses that would be open without prerequisites to all students would be available, and there might be an opportunity for mixing. There already is in some courses, some mixing, particularly among engineering programs. So that's another opportunity.
We probably have time for about one more question. Or no more questions.
Well, I'd just like to, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your insights, and hopefully that will motivate us all to think a little further in those kind of directions. So thank you very much.
And on behalf of the FSA, Teresa's just handing out little thank yous. So for the next general meeting, if folks could bring a friend, because these panels are so important for all of you to hear from each other. So make sure to come for April and bring your colleagues as well. And I'll pass it back to Teresa.
Thank you, Kyla.